friend, welcome to Chrysalis Chats. My name is Tanya and I help people like you transform their diets and lifestyles to be plant-based. Today we're talking all about bees. What is the buzz? You're about to have the download, 100% truth on what's going on with the bees in our world and why they're so important. Did you know 2 in 3 mouthfuls of food and drink, 2 in 3, not even if you're plant-based, everybody, even the meat eaters out there, 2 in 3 mouthfuls of food and drink require the presence of a bee. That's right, a bee, like bzz, bee. We need the bees, okay? And unfortunately, there's something going on called colony collapse disorder. I know that's really a big, long term. It can sound kind of intimidating. Don't worry about the name. The whole point is the bees have been dying, okay, at dramatic levels that we've never seen before in recorded history. Why is this an issue? Well, just to remind you of that incredible statistic I just threw at you, 2 in 3 mouthfuls of food and drink require the presence of a bee. Bzz, bee, that's truth, okay? So with that said, what do we do? Well, the reason, let's go into that. Why is it happening? The reason that it's happening is because not only are we introducing a lot of Wi-Fi and just crazy stuff that's really messing up the magnetic poles of the Earth. If you look at a map, there's a north and south pole on our planet, right? If you look at this kind of map that I'm talking about. And there's an electromagnetic signal that goes from north to south, back and forth, back and forth. So we have this world and there's this sphere and there's these lines connecting north and south pole. That is how the world works, or I should say worked, because with the introduction of the Wi-Fi and all these different 4 and 5G technology now coming out, we're literally messing up the electromagnetic pathways of our planet. Now, what am I talking about? Why is this important? How does this connect to bees and 2 and 3 mouthfuls of food and drink? Well, it connects because bees, butterflies, birds, a lot of wildlife actually, uses these electromagnetic waves to direct themselves across the planet. That's how we have migration, okay? That's how monarch butterflies every year go from Mexico all the way up to Canada, past the United States, and back and forth and back and forth. They read the electromagnetic waves of the planet. Same with butterflies, obviously, just mentioned that, but birds, okay? Birds do the same thing. So you might have heard in the news, birds are getting confused about where they're going, where they're migrating to, but the same thing applies to bees, you see? And so don't feel like at this point, oh my God, it's all hope is lost, the world's totally messed up. Stay with me here because there's a silver lining and there's an opportunity. Anytime you have an issue or a challenge in life, there's always, always, always an opportunity. This is kind of like the law of duality, yin and yang, white and black. It's always there. If there's a challenge or something that really sucks, there's always something really good that can come out of it. That's just the inherent truth of duality, right? So with that said, we have this tremendous issue. The bees have been passing away at unprecedented amounts, and you might have heard they're on the endangered species list. Are you kidding? The insect that accounts for 2 and 3 mouthfuls of food and drink? Yeah, that's serious. That's a real life thing. Big facts, people, big facts. Now, with that said, we understand part of the issue. Another big part of the issue, which is perhaps even more in our control, is the fact that pesticides that have been deduced by scientists, very intelligent people, to be 100% toxic to the bees are being legalized. And these are called neonicotinoids, okay? And these are basically just pesticides that are derived from the tobacco plant, Nicotiana, believe it or not, okay? So with that said, these pesticides are designed to kill the bad bugs that we don't want eating all of our crops. Totally logical, right? However, scientists have discovered that there's some side effects to this, and that neonicotinoids in particular, pesticides that have been created through the use of tobacco plants, they are super duper 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 toxic to the bees. And so when bees interact with it, they might just flat out die, or they might get confused in their neural pathways and lose where they're at. So they might be out a far, far, far away from home, and they might totally lose source of where they're going back to. They might just not know where to go back to. And so in the process, they might die, not only from just being confused about where the hell they're at and kind of poisoned from this drug they just encountered, but also because lack of food source. So this is where we're going to talk about the opportunities. You just dealt with 4.5 minutes of the problem. Now we're going to get into the solution, okay? So the solution here, number one, what you can do is support the environment in general. This is like a really generic statement, but it's so real. And I know if you're watching this, you can feel it from my heart that it is so real, as a solution to this issue. If you support the environment, by the way, did you know that the current person in presidential role in the United States just legalized the use of these in the national park system? Yeah, that's the reaction. Anyway, you can support the environment, and you can do that, friends, on this channel through, you guessed it, a plant-based diet. A plant-based diet is one of the #1 most effective things that you can do to, in a just complete one foul step, one just boom, done, one and done, do to save the planet. And I'm not even exaggerating, because if you think that we can survive without bees, without a mass population issue, then think again, because we need the bees, we need food. 2 and 3 mouthfuls of food and drink requires the presence of a bee. So what you can do, and I'm not trying to scare you, but what you can do is go to a plant-based diet, okay? Because this is just real stuff. And if you've been paying attention to this issue, you know it's real stuff. So go plant-based and save the world. That's literally just a summary of what you can do. You can support the environment through a plant-based diet. Now, another way that you can support the planet is by planting native plants, especially for the sake of the bees, native flowers, okay? Because bees need nectar, they need the pollen, they need the good stuff in the center of the beautiful flower, right? That's how they eat. They eat pollen, they make honey, which they then also eat, okay? And so what you can do is plant native plants. Now, why is native so important when talking about plants? Good question. I'm glad you asked it. Native plants are super important because it supports the natural ecosystem of wherever you live. If you live in Costa Rica, you have a totally different biome. You have a totally different ecosystem than somebody who lives in Chicago, Illinois. Okay? And you have a totally different ecosystem there than you do in, say, Africa, anywhere in Africa, say like Mali. You have a totally different ecosystem there, or even the Congo, okay? Totally different ecosystem than you would anywhere else in the world. It's called a micro ecosystem, right? It's like a different, it's a microbiome. It's a different little society of living beings working together. So it's plants, it's animals, and obviously it's people, okay? Just like us. And it's bacteria, and it's fungus, and it's all these other factors we can go into. But with that said, the more you support your local ecosystem, your local habitat, which is the native food and shelter supply for species of bees in this example, the more you're working to help support their life, the more you're working to help them grow and flourish and live and succeed and help us as a society, as a collective, avoid mass food depletion. Okay, so plant some native plants. In the Midwest, we're talking echinacea, we're talking milkweed, we're talking all these different flowers. You can go into so many different native flowers wherever you're at, and the bees will just love it and eat it up, okay? But if you plant like petunias, for example, you might get some bees on it, but generally speaking, that's not what's gonna keep them sustained over a long period of time, and it's not gonna be like a highly desired food source, okay? So bring in the native stuff, help the bees remember where the hell they're at, bring in the long-term food supply, and restore the energetic imprint of wherever you are on Earth. Because yes, it is constantly changing, and yes, it is constantly evolving, and yes, unfortunately, the truth is we do have contaminants like glyphosate that are completely perpetual and are in our ecosystem, and they may never fully go away until thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and a whole lot of bioremediation, okay? But with that said, what you can do is bioremediate today. Go get some echinacea if you're in the Midwest, okay? Plant some native stuff. And specifically, if you're talking about planting, you want to do it more in the spring and the autumn if you have a more moderate kind of climate year in your region, wherever you're at. But with that said, friends, I just wanted to encourage you today to really consider how it is that you can save the pollinators, both the literal ones and also the metaphorical ones. So going into some metaphor now, talking a little bit more outside of our individual lives and just, food and how we can save that collective experience that we all have I shouldn't say all of us, but that we generally have as a society, as a collective of humans, to just be able to reach out and grab an apple and eat it anytime you want, okay? Outside of that, how are you metaphorically applying the notion of supporting pollinators to your life? So who in your life is a pollinator? In other words, who in your life makes fruit possible? Because that's what we're talking about, right? All the fruits, I'm talking about peppers, I'm talking about tomatoes, I'm talking about peaches, apples, pears, plums, cherries, apricots, and beyond are responsible, bees are responsible for them. They are needed. Bees are needed in order to make those fruits available to us. So who in your life is a pollinator? Who in your life is helping you produce fruits? Who in your life is supporting your development and what you're doing? Who is helping you? Who is the pollinator? Who is the busy bee who's supporting you on your journey? That's the question. And how are you supporting them? What are you growing in your life that you're giving to that person? What are you growing in your life that's supporting not only your development and your flourishment and your growth, but also that person or those people's growth? What are you doing to give back, okay? Because they're enabling you. And that's something I want you to get out of this video, is that no woman, no man, no human, no spirit is an island. We are all part of a collective. So with that said, friends, I think I'm going to leave it right there. I just want to give immense gratitude to everybody who's been supporting this channel and supporting this general message. Be sure to check out chrysalisandcocoon.com. That's my website. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And you can also find Chrysalis Chats on Instagram. With that said, whether you're just a little caterpillar like where are the leaves at, or a full-fledged butterfly sipping the rewards of a plant-based diet, you, my friend, are awesome. Have a blessed day.